Alleged avocado thief arrested for grand theft of fruit in Goleta. So the first thing that strikes me about this article, well, I mean, there's a lot of things that catches the eye, but the first thing that strikes my eye is that they call avocados fruit, which I know is technically true. I realize that avocados do have like seeds. I guess the pit is like a seed. It still feels wrong to me. And the other thing, well, let's break this down. Let's break this down for a second. There's a man in California, and he was spotted by a police officer in the middle of the night. He was on a avocado ranch. I guess avocados grow on ranches. I don't know. This man was seen by this police officer. He had a headlamp on, and he had a basket of avocados, very inconspicuous. And when the police officers searched his car, his trunk was full of avocados, as you can see in this picture. That's a lot of avocados. And the ranch's owner was contacted and informed authorities that this man didn't have permission to harvest their avocados. But wouldn't it be wild if the owner of this ranch said that man did have permission to harvest avocados? That would be so weird. This man is asked to harvest this ranch's avocados in the middle of the night and put them in the trunk of his car. Additionally, authorities recovered a methamphetamine pipe and a bag of methamphetamine. So eventually this man was arrested for grand theft of a fruit, a felony, possession of a controlled substance, a misdemeanor, and possession of drug paraphernalia, which is also a misdemeanor. But grand theft of fruit. When I think of the words grand theft, I think of some grand, big, impressive feat of crime, not just a guy that was probably high in meth stealing avocados from a field. But I looked up what is grand theft, and the following three things need to happen in order for it to be considered grand theft. The defendant must knowingly and unlawfully obtained, used, or tried to use the property of another. Second, the defendant did this with the intent to temporarily or permanently deprive the victim of his or her property. And three, the property was worth $300 or more. So this was like more than $300 worth of avocados, which is insane. But yeah, I didn't know that's what grand theft was. I thought it was something cooler. Honestly. Well, there you go. Don't steal fruit from ranches. Okay, let's move on to our next article, which is about Russian McDonald's. The war in Ukraine, that's still happening. I feel like I hear less and less about the war in Ukraine these days. But it's still happening. And a ton of Western companies, including McDonald's, have pulled out of Russia. So now Russia is rebranding all of their old McDonald's locations as Delicious, That's All. That's the new name of the Russian McDonald's. Delicious, That's All. And they replaced the McDonald's arches with this logo, which is supposed to be like a hamburger and two French fries. I guess. I don't know why they're red. Also, I think they're maybe supposed to resemble an M, because it's supposed to be it's supposed to be the same as McDonald's, just under a different name. I want to read to you from this article. Quote, fellow patron Ludmila Rudenko, however, said that she felt like she was at a funeral. Clutching an empty hamburger wrapper, she expressed fears that the chain she and her family have come to love might resort to old Soviet traditions of poor service and even poor quality food. She says, have you ever eaten in a Soviet restaurant? You never know if the meat you were getting was lamb, pork, or your neighbor's cat. Yeah, so delicious, that's all. That wasn't the only name that was considered for the new rebranding of McDonald's in Russia. Other names include the same one, and I like this one. Quote, available cash register. I think they should have gone with that one. Available cash register. That's catchy. Of course, all of these names are in Russian, like translated to English, so maybe it sounds better in Russian. But I'm not gonna like try to pronounce it in Russian because I don't know. It's really interesting because McDonald's actually kind of represented like the end of the Soviet Union, right? Because in the 90s, McDonald's was allowed to like come into the Soviet Union, and it kind of like represented capitalism like going into Russia. And now it's pulling out again, like all of these companies, and it kind of like represents like a new period of isolation for Russia. That's what this kind of article talks about, and I think that's very interesting. Bees are important. This is a bee right here, not honeybees, but native bees that are like native. Like honeybees, I think like come from England and are invasive species. We don't need honeybees. We need like the native species of bee. This article has 3 groups of bees that four bees they are considering trying to protect, right? These 4 bees are the western bumblebee, Franklin's bumblebee, the crotch bumblebee, and the suckly cuckoo bumblebee. I remember looking at the crotch bumblebee. What an unfortunate name for a bumblebee. Bombus crotchy, which is named after George Robert Crotch. But yeah, under California, I don't think invertebrates. Well, what does it say? Yeah, in the California Endangered Species Act, an endangered species can only be a bird, mammal, fish, amphibian, reptile, or plant. So it can't be an invertebrate like a bee. And instead of like changing like the Endangered Species Act, which I assume would be very legally complicated, and like might not get through whatever California nonsense government, they just decided to classify bee as a fish and call it good. This article also mentions that a ton of things are considered fish in California. Yeah, the California Fish and Game Code defines fish as a wild fish, mollusk, crustacean, invertebrate, amphibian, or part, spawn, or ovium of any of those animals. That's a terrible definition. It has the word in the definition. It defines fish as a wild fish. What if that was the whole definition? It defines fish as, quote, a wild fish. Yeah, so already there's like a ton of things that like technically don't qualify as fish that are considered fish by California. Like it already includes amphibians like frogs. What is this? Sicilians? I've never seen that word before. And salamanders, and mollusks like clams and oysters. But I remember like seeing articles about how like fish aren't really actually a thing anyways, because if according to like some biologists, because if you're going to like take a group of animals based off of its like most recent common ancestor, and say that like everything that's come from this ancestor is like this in this group of animal. Well, if you look at fish, if we look at everything that we call a fish, and we look at their most recent common ancestor, well, we'll see that everything that is descended from that common ancestor includes things that aren't fish. Does that make sense? So it's like, what even is a fish? Who even knows? Why can't a bee be a fish? It might as well be, because it's very confusing. Also, the writer of this article, is called Helen Scales. Dr. Helen Scales is a marine biologist, broadcaster, and science writer. Brilliant. What is that called when someone's name like describes what they are? An aptronym? An aptronym. So it's like Michael Ball, an English footballer. That's an example of an aptronym. I think the most famous example is Usain Bolt, who's like a sprinter, right? But Michael Ball also works. Also Russell Brain, a neurologist. Igor Judge. So would they call this guy Judge? Okay, this is I'm spending too much time on this. We need to move on to our next article. Elephant tramples woman to death, then comes back to attack her corpse at funeral. So this woman in India, she was just like minding her own business, collecting water, when this elephant that had escaped from a Dalma wildlife sanctuary just attacked her and killed her. Well, it didn't kill her immediately. She was taken to the hospital where she later died, the woman. And then the same evening, when the family members were performing her last rites, the same animal appeared, took the body, trampled it again, threw it in the air, and then fled. Elephants are scary, man. It's like, I remember there was an elephant. I'm gonna pull this up. There's an elephant that was nicknamed Osama bin Laden because it had killed so many people. It had killed at least 27 people, so they called it Osama bin Laden. This is a separate incident way back in 2006. Elephants just sometimes go rogue, I guess, and just start killing people. Let's move on to our next article, which hopefully is a little less terrifying. It's about, oh my god, what is this? Stop. It's about the tampon shortage. Yeah, apparently there's like a tampon shortage. Sad. And there's like a lot of reasons that can be given for this shortage. For example, supply chain issues, the war in Ukraine apparently is like has made like a shortage of fertilizer, which is used to grow cotton. And you could say that the drought in Texas. Apparently, Time magazine asked Procter & Gamble, which owns Tampax and Always brands. They asked about the shortage, and the company spokesperson blamed increased demand due to an ad campaign featuring the comedian Amy Schumer. Since ads launched in 2020, quote, the retail sales growth has exploded, the spokesperson told Time. But this article also points out that this doesn't explain why other brands are so hard to come by. I'm going to go on a limb and say that I don't think the Amy Schumer commercial is what's causing the tampon shortage. But linking the tampon shortage to an Amy Schumer commercial isn't quite as insane as linking the tampon shortage to transgender people, which Marjorie Taylor Greene has done. Marjorie Taylor Greene has blamed transgender people for the tampon shortage hitting the United States. Greene said the short is, quote, probably because men are buying tampons, and that tampons are being placed in men's restrooms. I'm not like an expert or a doctor or anything, but I'm pretty sure that when like a man transitions to a woman, I'm pretty sure that they don't start menstruating. I'm pretty sure you need a uterus to do that. And I would also imagine that like some women that like transition to men, like they stop menstruating. So I feel like if anything, like transgender people have helped the tampon shortage, if anything. I don't know. I feel a slight a crack in your logic. And I looked up just to make sure I'm not going insane. I looked, can a transgender woman have a period? And they can't. A transgender woman can't have periods. They can go through PMS and PMDD, but they can't. The inner lining of their uterus can't leave their body because they don't have a uterus. I was very happy to see this because it means that I'm not going insane. Let's move on to our next story. Lauren Boebert said Jesus didn't have enough AR-15s to prevent crucifixion. You know what? She is right. What did she say? She was where was she? She was at a Christian center in Colorado Springs during a family camp meeting event, and she said, quote, "The little Twitter trolls, they like to say, Jesus didn't need an AR-15. How many AR-15s do you think Jesus would have had?" I don't know what she's talking about. And then she goes on to say, well, he didn't have enough to keep his government from killing him, so... That would be crazy. I wish that was part of the Bible, where they were coming to kill Jesus, and he pulls out his AR-15 and fends everybody off. That'd be so awesome. Add that to the Bible. Why not? This article also says Lord Boebert prayed for Joe Biden's death. This is what she said. She said, quote, "I do want you to know that I pray for our president." Psalm 109:8 says, quote, "May his days be few and another take his office." So yeah, I'll let that sink in. I mean, she didn't directly say that she wanted Joe Biden to die. She just wanted his days to be few. Totally different things. Also, it says this is Lauren Boebert's family, like her children. This is her Christmas card that she sent out, presumably. This is a terrible Christmas card. I don't mean to be rude, but like... like your children aren't even looking at the camera. I'm sorry, but I just needed to point that out. Let's move on to our next story, which is more fun than these last couple of stories, which has been sad. Indiana man finds adult toy inside fish he caught in Ohio River. This man was fishing in the Ohio River and caught a 20-pound catfish. He felt a large bulge in its stomach. And when they cut open the fish, they found... Well, first they found a foam ball, and they also found an adult toy. I mean, a dildo. That's, I think, what it was. It never says a dildo in this article. But I think somewhere it says it was like a phallic adult toy. I guess they can't say it, dildo. That's wild. How did this fish get a dildo in it? This is sad, frankly. How thrown away perfectly good dildos in the river. Sad. Okay, it's time for our final article, and you guys all know that I really like to end these weird news reports with a real banger article, and this week is no different. Man has shoes tattooed onto his feet because he's tired of paying for new ones. This man told the tattoo artist, I can't even say it, that he was tired of paying for new shoes, and so he had him permanently ink his favorite Nike trainers onto his feet. they look good here. They look kind of trippy. I don't know what to think about this. They always say no shoot, no shirt, no shoes, no service, right? Do you think this man could get away with just walking into those types of establishment bare feet? Also, have you ever noticed that they never say no shoes, no shirts, no pants, no service? So you don't have to wear pants. This is mostly just trippy and also a little bit disturbing. But I mean, I think they look pretty good. It's like what did this? It said this tattoo artist did something else. Oh, the tattoo artist is named Dean Gunther. And another thing he did was he went viral for tattooing a realistic six-pack onto a man's stomach. let me see. Dean Gunther six-pack. That is so weird. Well, this has been quite the episode. Okay, and with that, I think we're gonna end this weird news report right now.